Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. For today, we're going to be jumping into another session of Epic 7 now today. Got some more update content for you guys. Now, I thought I'd cover this week's content specifically because it is very much anticipated. There's a lot of new things coming up. We're going to take a look at Lilias' preview and her skills. We're also going to be taking a look at Landy later on. And most importantly, people want to take a look at the side story and to see whether or not Smilegate has improved it or not from the last 2 weeks. Now, there's a long version and a short version. The short version is no, but the long version is no. But asterisk maybe, question mark. We're going to get into those details today, right? So let's go ahead and jump into it. For the content update, we're starting off here. You can always get a little summary preview on the official Epic 7 channel, but we're not going to look at that. We're going to take a look at everything and kind of talk about it in depth. One important thing is the Arena season is actually coming to an end. Now you might be like, oh, well, this doesn't really impact me. This is just a good reminder for you guys to check out the Arena shop and make sure that you buy out the gear that you want, but most importantly, that you go for the unknown slate. Every single Arena season, you can purchase an unknown slate, which you can use to imprint any 5-star that you want, including limited units, including Moonlight units, right? So please, please, please make sure you buy out that unknown slate if you haven't done so already. Alright, but with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the side story. Now, the side story is going to have Lily over here in the background, and you guys, some of you guys are going to love this. Hopefully it's going to be animated just like the Luluka one was. I really hope they continue making these kind of live 2D backgrounds moving forward, because they make for some amazing wallpapers. Although with this one here, I don't think I can play Epic 7 in public anymore. So let's go ahead and continue. So we got chapters 3 and 4 that are going to be unlocked over the next couple of weeks. Chapter 3 will be available after the update this week. And you will be able to view the story just like we have been with 20 energy. Kind of wish that you could view the story without the 20 energy cost, given that farming the event is already kind of expensive with 30 energy per run. But yeah, hopefully they kind of tweak that. I don't know. I feel like 20 energy to view the story is a little excessive. But speaking of excess, we go in and we see the we're going to be fighting whatever that hideous creature's profile is with those 3 eyes there, but it's gonna be the hidden basement, as we all know. The basement's where all the creepy stuff happens, and where we send Shaggy and Scooby to go investigate all the time alone. But looking at this here, we have the sea soap. I kind of like the flavor text on this. It's a solid bar of soap that resembles a shore, but it's often mistaken for pudding for some reason. I'm sure that will be relevant in the plot. I don't know, but please don't eat soap, guys. The Tide Pod challenge was anything to go off of. Yeah, probably not the best idea. Now, to what everyone wanted to talk about, all joking and stuff aside, is the imprint system. And as you can see, there is still an imprint system. Now, I'm going to approach this trying to kind of avoid any and all controversy. Now, I am not sponsored by Smilegate. I'm not saying that what Smilegate is doing is correct. I'm not trying to take a stance on anything here. I just want to give you guys kind of different perspectives on this. So looking at the imprint system right here, it looks like it is a vastly different system than the one that was before. This one here actually doesn't impact any game mechanics, which is, I guess, what people's main problem was. That the lack of Luluka imprints made the side story pretty much inaccessible past a certain level, right? And depending on how old your account is, inaccessible, like, period. But with Lily's side story event here, you see that even if you don't have any imprints, just with 1 copy of her, she will get increased speed, health, and effectiveness. This base stat increase is the same throughout the entire memory imprint grade tiers, right? Now, the only difference is that as you get more imprints, you're going to deal more damage. At base, you still deal 20% extra damage whenever an ally attacks, which is nice, but it's going to increase as it goes up, and once you get to the S imprints, that's when you get reduction of damage that's taken on by the allies. Now, judging from just this, we can hopefully see that the side story is a bit more accessible. This is not going to cancel out any mechanics, and with just the base stat increases, hopefully with a little bit of damage boost as well, it makes clearing it easy for many people, right? An imprint system like this, people don't want it moving forward, and I kind of agree with that. But looking at it here, if it just makes it convenient for players to farm, then I think it could be okay. Now, I'm not saying that I'm supporting it moving forward, but if it does show up and it's only a convenience factor, like, hey, if you got multiple imprints, you can farm a bit better and easier, that's great, but it should not gate players from playing the event at all. I think that's my main sticking point here. Now, the other thing is, we actually don't know what the original event was supposed to look like, right? We got that backlash against Smilegate, and deservedly so, right? For the first 2 weeks for Luluka's imprint system. We don't know if they actually tweaked anything here for Lily's part. Maybe they did have an extra mechanic for this boss that the imprints were supposed to cancel. We will actually never know. So the only thing I can really say is we're moving in a better direction, although I think people just want no imprint system to begin with, period. But I think as long as they keep it to something that's more of a convenience rather than a necessity, it could work, right? But yeah, that's all I'm going to say on this. I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And again, I have no connection to Smilegate. I'm not promoting or supporting this type of system in the game. I'm just giving you a kind of variety of perspectives, right, that I've read and I've heard from players and you guys in the comments, and my own kind of thoughts, okay? But moving forward, you have the enhanced artifacts here. So the Soul Constellation is actually not going to boost the drops for the soap bars, the pudding soap bars. You got Prayer of Solitude, which we'll get into when we talk about Lily, right? You got the mileage shop, so make sure you purchase everything from there, especially these mana stones that reset your equipment. They're going to be very useful. You'll be able to clear out 15 items in the first week, and then you get to clear out the rest of the items in the second week. So don't be afraid when you're not able to clear out the shop in the first week, in the first go, right? And for the Epic Equipment Exchange, we're actually going to have Hit Set, Speed Set, and Torrent Set. Personally, I'm going to be going after Speed Set, but if you're in need of Torrent Set for certain units like Roy Mustang, T. Surin, Hua Young, they can all use Torrent Set pretty well. I've seen some pretty gimmicky things as well, funny things like Triple Torrent Arby that exists. So, yeah, it's really up to your needs. Hit Set is probably the lowest priority. Nobody's probably going to be farming that unless you're going for some really niche things. But Speed Set is very universal, and having epic crafts for speed is fantastic. All right, now it is time to go ahead and take a look at Lily's preview.
I don't care what you do. Just try not to get on my nerves. Dealing with you is just a waste of my time. What? Why are you staring like that?
Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to take a look at is Lily's stats. So for her stats, the first thing that probably caught your eye is her 121 base speed. That is pretty fast. For reference, Conqueror Lilias' base speed is also 121 and Lua's is 120. So Lily's actually going to fall between these two units in terms of how fast she can be built, and having seen Conqueror Lilias and stuff above 300 speed, it's not unreasonable to assume that Lily can also be built that fast while keeping her utility. So moving on into her skills, we're going to start with her skill 2, which is a passive. It's called Dreamer in the Deep, And right off the bat, you already see that it does not cost any souls to activate her first soul burn. We'll get to the soul burn in a bit when we go to her S3. When she attacks, she has up to a 100% chance to inflict Omen on the target, regardless of whether the attack hits. So if you're playing evasion units, it doesn't matter. Now, Omen is unaffected by effect resistance, it cannot be dispelled, it cannot be transferred, which means Champion Zerato can't deflect it back, and it can't be resisted with immunity. So it's going to be a counter that appears, much like in the side story, and it can stack up to 3 times. Next up, we have her skill 3, Freeze Over. So this is an AoE attack that attacks all units on the opponent's side, decreasing buff durations by 1 turn, before having a up to 100% chance to inflict Frostbite and Restrict for 2 turns. And by soul burning with 20 souls, she grants herself an extra turn. By the way, it's free on the first soul burn. So already you're seeing she's already keeping a lot of the same mechanics that we're seeing from the side story, so prepare to get some PTSD when you play PvP. And last but not least, we have her skill 1, Wave Slash, which attacks one target with a sword before increasing speed of the caster for 1 turn. Again, very much like the side story. And after attacking, when the target's omen is 3, she consumes all of those omens and then activates her extra attack skill, which is called the Abyss. It's very similar to what you experienced in the side story. It is going to attack the opponent, and if the opponent's defeated, it inflicts extinction. And she recovers the health of all allies. It's pretty loaded, right? But it doesn't end there. This skill can't trigger a critical hit. However, it will penetrate the target's defense, much like LR Krow's S3, or maybe like Yolha's S3. And the damage dealt is increased proportional to the caster's max health, so she's an HP scaling unit. And the amount that's recovered increases proportional to the target's max health. So when she's healing the allies, it's based on their health, right? It's a percentage of their health that she recovers back. So Lily looks pretty loaded. Now when it comes to her skills, when it comes to her kit, I feel like she's gonna be a very imposing unit on slower players, right? Having Frostbite, and if you're unaware of what Frostbite does, it basically negates the effects of damage sharing skills like Aureus and Escort. And it also mitigates damage reduction effects, so think about things like Adamant Shield or some units' passives that reduce crit hit damage, right, when they're hit. So Lily's going to be really strong at enabling aggro teams, especially. Now, she can also be kind of used in cleave teams, sort of. Because of her fast-based speed and the fact that she can ignore the damage share and the damage reduction effects, I think that'll be quite valuable, especially against tank down teams. Now, the problem with her is that the Restrict actually hinders slower players quite a bit. So as a slow player myself, Restrict, if she's built with enough effectiveness, can hinder things like Sage Ball, can hinder things like, if she is built, again, with enough effectiveness, that's the caveat, she can prevent DJB or your Ocean Breeze, Luluka, and stuff from cutting with Soul Constellation or with Eternus. So you gotta keep that in mind, right? When approaching this type of unit. She's pretty good for aggro though, because again, she ignores all the damage sharing, damage reduction effects, while also just kind of, well, she actually just ignores all mechanics in general. It's just, who cares about your effect res, who cares about your immunity? And then she's going to stack her omens. The good thing is she kind of requires 2 turns in order to kind of get that extra skill off. So do keep that in mind. You can start off with a Soul Burn S3, take an extra turn in S1, but you're going to need an extra turn to get that 3rd omen before she consumes and activates her extra attack. The other alternative is you start off the game with an S1 against somebody. After your opponent buffs and stuff, you can use her S3, reduce the duration of those buffs, and then S1 with the Soul Burn on S3, and then you can proc your extra hit there. So there is some flexibility in what she can do. She doesn't have to pop her skills immediately right out the gate. but that is something to keep in mind. Here's the main catcher though. Her artifact is absolutely busted. This thing is pretty much what every HP scaling bruiser is gonna want. So let's take a look at the artifact. It says it increases health by 5%, when attacking increases damage dealt by 5%, and when it's an extra attack increases damage dealt by an additional 5%. All of this, when max limit broken, increases to 10%. Now, if you just have one copy and you take it to plus 15, it's still fine, because the plus 15 copy will be halfway between the stats of level 1 and max, so it'll be 7.5% increase in health. That by itself is huge because we've never had a skill that just increases health, right? Or an artifact or anything in general that just increases health outside of imprints. So this is massive. It's going to make building really bulky units really easy. And it's a little scary too, because of the rat. Now, for those of you guys who play the game at all, you will know that the rat is absolutely devastating, and no one wants to fight against her. This increases her bulkiness and her damage output. So not only does her damage just increase by a flat 10% if it's max limit broken, let's say 7.5%, right, for the average user. When she whooshes, it's going to have an additional 7.5%. That is going to be a total of 15% extra damage on an S2 that already penetrates defense and is already really scary to work with. This artifact is also great on units like Alencia, so not too bad, right? Pretty good. Highly recommend you guys get a copy of this if you can. From the powder shop, you're guaranteed to get a copy, but while you're pulling, best of luck, guys. Hopefully you pull a copy or two, because this thing is amazing. And I would probably advise against merging this for imprints. Keep them separate, because you might have 2 or 3 units that might want to use this. Again, gonna be like a best in slot type of artifact for a unit like Shu. So moving on, we got a couple of minor updates here. Most of it is aesthetic, like visual updates or some quality of life features being included. The first one is the lobby function update, where you get a lobby illustration of the beach island, and several summer-themed characters will appear here, even though they don't technically have swimsuit versions of them. You see like Christy and stuff in the background there, because they appeared in the side story. I'm assuming if they appear, then they can appear here. So that's kind of nice. You can also hide the banner that's in your main lobby screen. So if you just long press on your screen, it will go away for a 24-hour period, and it will appear again if a update appears sometime between when you tapped it and when it's supposed to appear, right? So if a new side story comes out, a new banner comes out, or refreshes, then you'll see that pop up. Next up, we got some summer pets. So if you were looking for the octopus, which is one of my favorite pets actually, then now's your time, if you have some pet tickets saved up, to go for some aesthetics for your farming. And last but not least, I believe, yeah, Pavel has a raid up, but no one's going to be pulling for Pavel because everyone's going to be pulling for Lily. And, oh yes, this was actually pretty important too. Ending the repeat battle after heroes reach friendship level 10. So if you're friendship farming in Unrecorded History, then you no longer have to worry that you overcap the friendship, right? It'll end, and then you can swap them out for somebody else to farm some more molas and all that good stuff. But yeah, moving on here, a couple of packs and things like that that most of you guys probably don't care about, and a couple of quality of life things for Mystics. Now, speaking of Mystics, we have one more thing to talk about, and that is ML Landy's preview. Let's take a look.
Here, you're just a sailor. Nothing more, nothing less. Copy that? That sly sea snake. I'll exterminate her! State your name and rank. Promptly now. Don't let your tardiness interfere with my ability to command the fleet.
So the first thing we're going to take a look at here is Landy's stat line. Now, she is going to be a light knight, and she's going to be a Leo knight as well, which means her base speed is abysmal. She has 99 base speed. However, she does have some pretty decent attack. She is going to be a imprint concentration of attack, and she's going to be imprint release of health for 2 of the frontline allies. Taking a look at her skills, her skill 2 is actually pretty loaded. So it's called Ruler of the Sea, and it makes her, right off the bat, immune to debuffs which prevent movement. This includes stun and sleep, right? We've seen this in units like Tywin, and sort of with something like Dark Corvus, who's immune to stuns. And she also increases her critical hit resistance by up to 70%, which is huge. So this is where, if you have Emma Bologna, you get some more value here, right? Or if you have Fire Charlotte, she can be pretty good into Landy too. At the start of the battle, she also increases critical hit resistance to all allies except for the caster for 2 turns, which is kind of nice. You're just starting off with like a Dien's S3 without having to pop the S3. And after attacking, she can increase her attack by 10% up to 5 times. That's a 50% attack increase throughout the duration of the battle. Next up, we have her skill 3. So she is a fighting spirit unit, and to use her skill 3, you need to consume 100 fighting spirit, which is the full meter. And it says after increasing the attack of the caster for 3 turns, so she's self-buffing, she'll attack all enemies with a warship, stunning for 1 turn. She'll also penetrate the target's defense by 60%. Now, this is pretty nice, right? This is kind of like base Landy, but knight form, and a bit more supportive of the team. Instead of kind of combat readiness for the entire team, she's more of protecting the team while being able to deal a bunch of damage. The stun is kind of interesting that they put it onto her here, because she needs the fighting spirit to kind of utilize the stun for the S3. So by that point, hopefully you've gained some stacks, right, of attack percent with her passive, and your opponents are lower on health. So by the time you actually activate this, hopefully your opponents are probably just going to get blown up completely rather than needing to be stunned. However, in those instances where you don't finish your opponent off, having them stunned for a turn is absolutely fantastic and invaluable. And last but not least, her skill 1, which is precision targeting. She attacks a single target unit with gunfire and increases combat readiness of herself by up to 25%, which is quite a big jump, right? After attacking, she also has a 40% chance to activate Salvo Fire as an extra attack. And her extra attack is an AoE, and it recovers the health of herself. And the amount recovered actually increases proportional to her own attack. So this is quite insane, because you can soul burn this 10 souls to increase the chance to 100% to activate this extra attack. So she can constantly be healing herself while dealing AoE damage, right? And that's after attacking. So you get to target down a single unit, then you get to fire off a bunch of AoEs, okay? And you get to heal. Not bad. Plus the combat readiness is going to be pretty big. Now, you're going to need to use your skill 1 4 times in order to pop off and get your S3 up. So I think most people are going to be going towards a counter build. With her low base speed, I don't think it's really viable to be pumping out a ton of speed on her and hoping that she turn cycles. Although you might be able to get away with that, I don't know. A lot of these things with new units is you have to wait until they're put into practice before you can tell, right? Because some things look good on paper, but then they don't really work out in practice. So I'm thinking most people are probably going to run her on something like Elbrus and on a counter set, right? To maximize the chances that she gets to use her S1. If she gets a couple S1s in, she's probably going to be cutting with her combat readiness anyway, taking the turn, getting some extra hits, healing up some of the damage that she took while she was kind of sitting around waiting for counters to proc. And yeah, I think she's going to be a pretty solid unit. Gonna be very nice to use, very fun to use, especially for standard players like me. So that is going to be it for this content update. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that Lilias will be made available with this upcoming update. So once tomorrow's patch rolls around, you can roll for her. As for ML Landy, you can't roll for her until August 3rd. So she's going to probably be coming after this current Mystic rotation cycle. So do keep an eye out for that, and make sure that you refresh the secret shop for some Mystic medals. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe for more Epic 7 content. And until next time, take care.